Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into the second chapter of Jeremiah,
Yeah, Jeremiah 2, it's this, well, intense message from the Lord through the prophet.
aimed mainly at Israel and Judah, right?
Ah.
It's really looking hard at their relationship with the divine.
Exactly. It lays out a case, you could say. And our goal here is to unpack the main points, the accusations, the imagery.
And figure out what this ancient text is really telling us.
Right. So where it starts is actually quite interesting. It's with a memory.
A memory God has looking back.
Yes, remembering how things were at the beginning with Israel. The language is really tender, almost nostalgic.
Mm.
It talks about the devotion of your youth, how Israel loved me as a bride and, followed him through the desert through a land not sown.
Wow, like that honeymoon phase, but under really tough conditions. That suggests real commitment.
It does. Real closeness, real reliance. And the text stresses how special Israel was back then. Holy to the Lord, it says, the first fruits of his harvest. And crucially, anyone who harmed them, they were held guilty. Disaster came upon them.
Okay, so a protected status linked to that early devotion.
Exactly. There was this special bond, this protection.
So you have this beautiful memory of closeness and protection, but the chapter doesn't stay there, does it?
No, it shifts
Yeah.
dramatically. And pretty quickly, we get to the core accusation.
Which is?
The Lord asks this question, and it feels almost searching, maybe even a bit heartbroken. What fault did your fathers find in me that they strayed so far from me?
What did I do wrong? That really puts the responsibility back on them.
It does. It's not about God failing them. And the text gives the answer straight up.
Go.
They didn't find any fault. They just followed worthless idols. And here's the kicker. In doing that, they became worthless themselves.
Wow. So chasing empty things actually made them empty. You become what you worship.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
A really powerful concept. And it gets specific about how this abandonment happened.
Right, the details.
A big one is that they just stopped asking. They didn't ask, where's the Lord? The one who brought them out of Egypt.
Yeah, the one who led them through that incredibly harsh wilderness the text describes.
Exactly, the barren wilderness, deserts and rifts, drought and darkness, a land where no one travels and no one lives.
Yeah.
They forgot who got them through that.
That's profound forgetting the rescuer.
Deep forgetting. And it wasn't just forgetting the past journey. It was also about what they did when they arrived.
In the promised land.
Yeah, brought into this fertile land, this great gift. And what do? They defiled my land and made my inheritance detestable. They basically trashed the gift.
And it wasn't just the average person making these mistakes, was it? The leadership gets called out specifically.
Oh, absolutely. Goes right to the top. The priests, they weren't asking, where is the Lord? The legal experts, they did not know me. The rulers, they rebelled.
And the prophets.
The prophets were prophesying by Baal, following those same worthless idols. So, yeah, every level of leadership failed.
Yeah.
Systemic failure.
A total breakdown.
Total breakdown. And the text emphasizes just how shocking, how unnatural this betrayal was.
How does it do that?
It asks, has a nation ever changed its gods? And it even adds, even though they're not gods at all.
Oh, right. Like other nations stick with their fake gods, but you guys...
Exactly. But my people have exchanged their glory, their actual real source of value in life, for worthless idols, things with zero value.
Trading treasure for trash, it sounds completely irrational when you put it like that.
It's presented as so bizarre, so wrong, that the text calls on the heavens themselves to react. Be appalled at this, O heavens, and shudder with great horror.
Like the cosmos itself is recoiling. That's intense imagery.
It really lands the point. And maybe the most famous summary of their failure comes next in this really stark analogy.
Okay, what is it?
The Lord says, my people have committed two sins.
All right, the two big ones.
First, they have forsaken me, the spring of living water.
Okay, the source.
And second, and have dug their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water.
Ah, yeah. That image is incredibly clear. Rejecting the fresh-flowing spring.
The constant, reliable source.
And instead trying to carve out their own storage tanks, but they're cracked, they leak, they can't actually hold the water they need.
Precisely. They put all this effort into creating their own solutions, their own sources of life or security, but these things are fundamentally flawed, broken, useless. They can't deliver.
Seeking life from broken systems they built themselves. And what happens because of this? The text mentions Israel becoming plunder.
Right. The consequences are laid out. They become vulnerable, attacked by enemies like lions, laying waste to the land. Towns end up burned and deserted.
And it mentions specific external pressures, right? Egypt and Assyria.
Yes. Memphis and Tahpanhes from Egypt, and references to the Nile, Shihor, and the Euphrates, the river, representing Egypt and Assyria. These were the superpowers of the time.
So they're turning to these big human empires for help, for security.
Exactly. Looking for political alliances, military backup, trying to get water from these powerful neighbors instead of relying on the one who rescued them from Egypt in the first place.
But the text makes it clear it's their own fault, doesn't it?
Absolutely explicit. Have you not brought this on yourselves by forsaking the Lord your God when he led you in the way? It's not random misfortune. It's presented as the direct result of their choices.
The chickens coming home to roost, so to speak.
You could say that. It's the natural outcome of abandoning the true source. And the text points out how pointless it is to look to Egypt or Assyria. Why go there for help? Those alliances won't ultimately work.
So, trying to drink from their own leaky cisterns and begging water from unreliable neighbors instead of just going back to the spring.
That's the picture. And there are internal consequences, too. Your wickedness will punish you. Your backsliding will rebuke you. Forsaking God is described as evil and bitter, leading to a loss of awe.
So it damages them on the inside, too. It's not just about external problems.
Right. It corrodes something within them. And the description of their rebellion gets even more graphic.
How so?
It talks about them breaking the yoke, tearing off bonds, like refusing any restraint, and openly saying, I will not serve you.
Just flat out defiance.
Yes. And then there's the prostitution imagery.
Yeah.
Lying down as prostitute on every high hill and under every spreading tree, it directly links their idol worship, chasing other gods with blatant, shameless unfaithfulness.
Not even trying to hide it. Open infidelity.
Exactly. And then another powerful image.
Vine.
The vine analogy. God says, I had planted you like a choice vine, the best possible stock. Remember that early devotion. But asks, how then did you turn against me into a corrupt wild vine?
Started out as the best, meant for good fruit, but somehow became degenerate, wild, useless.
Yes, a fundamental change in their very nature, from cultivated to corrupt. And it even mentions their attempts to clean up their act or deny it.
How does it address that?
It says, even if you wash with soda and use an abundance of soap, the stain of your guilt is still there before me. You can't just scrub the outside clean.
Surface cleaning won't fix the deep internal stain. That denial seems really central.
It is. They keep saying, I am not defiled, I have not run after the Baals, or later, I am innocent, he is not angry with me, I have not sinned.
But their actions scream otherwise.
Completely. The text compares them to a swift she-camel running wildly, or a wild donkey in heat, consumed by craving. It even says they admit, I love foreign gods and I must go after them.
Wow, so the words say innocent, but the inner drive, the actions, are all about chasing these other gods, like an addiction.
Exactly. An uncontrollable urge, overriding reason or loyalty. And this leads inevitably to shame. Disgrace.
For everyone.
For everyone. As a thief is disgraced when he is caught, so the whole house of Israel is disgraced. Kings, officials, priests, prophets, the whole system.
And the hypocrisy continues, right?
Oh yeah. They turn their backs on God, calling wood and stone idols father and mother. But the moment trouble hits.
Let me guess. They cry out to the Lord.
You got it. Come and save us. To the very one they rejected.
That's something else. Only turning back when desperate, after explicitly choosing other parents.
It really highlights the inconsistency, and God challenges them right back. Where then are the gods you made for yourselves? Let them come if they can save you.
Go ask your idols for help now.
Pretty much. And it adds that little detail. Judah has as many gods as you have towns. Plenty of options, apparently, but none that can actually deliver.
All those gods, but no help when it counts.
None. And the text expresses this deep frustration that correction didn't work. Punishment was in vain. They did not respond.
They wouldn't listen.
Worse. It says chillingly, your sword has devoured your prophets like a ravening lion. They actually killed the messengers sent to warn them.
Whoa. Not just ignoring, but actively destroying the call to repent. That's dark.
It shows how deep the rebellion went. And then another forgetting analogy.
Okay.
Does a young woman forget her jewelry? Does a bride forget her wedding ornaments? Precious things you cherish?
Right, things you value.
Yet, God says, my people have forgotten me, days without number. forgetting something infinitely more valuable than any ornament, forgetting their very life source.
Forgetting the relationship that defined them.
Exactly. And there are other accusations, too. It mentions their skill in pursuing love, which probably means how good they got at chasing foreign gods and alliances, skilled at being unfaithful.
Putting all their energy into the wrong pursuits.
Right. And disturbingly, it mentions finding the lifeblood of the innocent poor on their clothes, even without catching them in the act of breaking in.
Suggesting it's not just religious failure, but social injustice too. Violence against the vulnerable.
It seems deeply connected. The turning away from God is linked to how they treat each other, especially the poor and innocent. It's like a systemic stain.
And despite all this evidence, all these consequences.
The denial persists. They keep saying, I am innocent, he's not angry, I haven't sinned. Right to the end.
Just refusing to see it, refusing to own it.
It seems so.
Yeah.
And the chapter circles back to the futility of looking elsewhere for help. Why do you go about so much changing your ways?
Constantly shifting strategies, trying this alliance, then that one.
Exactly. But it says they'll be disappointed by Egypt, just like they were by Assyria. They'll end up empty-handed, hands on their head in mourning or despair.
Why?
Because the Lord has rejected the things they're trusting in. They will not be helped by them. Those broken cisterns, those unreliable neighbors, they just won't deliver.
So the whole chapter is this intense, almost pained argument against abandoning the true source for things that are ultimately worthless and lead only to ruin.
That sums it up pretty well. It's a deep dive into divine disappointment, you could say. Disappointment over a relationship that started so well.
With real devotion.
But was just thrown away for things that couldn't possibly satisfy, leading to all this self-inflicted pain.
Those key images really stick with you, the living spring versus the broken cisterns.
The choice vine turning wild.
Forgetting jewelry, but so much worse, it all points to that core problem, misplaced trust.
And the inevitable consequences of that misplaced trust.
And, reading this ancient text, you can't help but see echoes of just human nature, right? That tendency we all have sometimes to look for life or happiness in things that just don't deliver.
Absolutely. The difficulty in admitting when we're wrong, when we've maybe contributed to our own problems. The consequences of trusting things or people or systems that are ultimately, well, broken cisterns.
It definitely resonates beyond its original time and place.
For sure. It speaks to that ongoing human search for what's reliable, what's truly life-giving.
And it leaves us with that final searching question from the text itself. Why do you go about so much changing your ways?
Yeah, that question hangs there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Makes you stop and think about your own life, all the running around, the things you pursue. Where are you really looking for water? Is it the spring or is it something else, something maybe a bit cracked?
A powerful thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.